Welcome. This is my commentary video on the incident that happened today, 24th of April, 2018, in the city of Crowley, quote-unquote municipal courthouse, where during these sessions on Tuesdays, they have primarily people, teenagers up to the age of, 19 even, maybe 20 or something like that. They bring them in here for charges that do not involve potential jail, and they charge them anywhere from what I've seen between $200 to $300, something like that, in that range, for nonviolent victimless charges: curfew, seatbelt, no license, maybe a joyride. Most of the kids can't afford it. Some of them don't even have jobs or are old enough to work, and so they convert it to community service, which of course they allow to be served at any church, any tax-free religion that has, work here for community service hours gets free labor because of this. And their will gets enforced. Naughty children, we know what's best for you. You can't be out at 11 at night on a Wednesday. You're supposed to be in our indoctrination camps in the morning, right? Anyway, I'm going to try to do this with as much respect as possible. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate any of these people, right? I mean, I certainly don't agree with what they do. They take things for a living instead of make things for a living, and they're basically glorified welfare recipients. But if they quit their job tomorrow, man, we good. I can be friends with you tomorrow. Because they're not invested in it. They're only invested in this to the depth of their paycheck and their hourly wage. That's it. If you take away the paycheck, none of them are going to do this. They're not doing it because they value it, or they see value in it, or they're committed to it, or think it's worthy of keeping social order, or whatever it is they want to clarify it as. And that goes for bailiffs, lawyers, cops, judges. The only reason why anybody would do this is if they profit from it. And of course, here we are doing it for free. I'm not trying to, claim some kind of hero status by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just pointing out that I recognize and keep in perspective, which is why we're laughing all the time, that these people are only here for the paycheck. We just don't take it personally. So I just want to say that up front, because I'm going to be criticizing a lot of their actions. And again, I'm trying to do it as polite and respectful as possible. And I'm not trying to sound scary or anything like that. Not even close. I am trying to fix these things now while they're small, before they get big. If you think that, you're the type of person who would speak up if they were just randomly throwing people in jail that they just didn't like and getting away with it, then you would speak up. I say to you, if you won't speak up now, you're not going to speak up then. I have to speak up now because the problem is still small. I'd rather speak up now when the problem is still small than when the problem is huge, that big, where it becomes a lot more like the tyrannical states that we read about in history that are just terrifying beyond comprehension. So please don't judge me harshly, and please don't get some air of superiority as if all these people are crazy. If you think that you're so morally sound that you would definitely have spoken up if World War II level atrocities started to be committed, if you think you're the type of person that would speak up then under those much more difficult circumstances, why isn't it that you're speaking up now when times are so much easier? Because they're not worth speaking up over? How many people are in prison over nonviolent victimless crimes? How many people become more violent in that prison, get out, and then commit real violent crimes with victims, even you or those you love? The government doesn't handle or have any responsibility for this, but they very much should. After all, if somebody wrongs you, do you get to be compensated by the perpetrator? No, they have to pay back the state, either in fines or in labor through the prison system and the contracts that they keep to keep the cash rolling and them in power. You don't get anything. You just get the satisfaction of knowing that they're in jail. Well, big whoop-de-doo. Does anybody paying your therapy bills to handle the violent crime that was perpetrated against you because the government kept people in jail, away from their families, away from society, away from any loved ones or romantic relationships, and it kind of drove them a little bit nuts, maybe in solitary confinement, maybe away from sunshine or the ability to sprint or run or exercise or make normal relationships? Anyway, I guess, wow, that's quite a bit of rant before we even begin. We better get started. So here, Bao and I are in court. And he took a position over here in the corner. You'll see me in the other corner. And we're just chilling out, waiting for the party to start. And in comes the security guard. And this is their first attempt. An insult to our intelligence. It's a thing of beauty. Check this out.
Please, Commissioner, I want you to read something real quick. Please.
So, I'm over here. So, he's waving Bao over. Like, hey, come see this poster that has this rule written on it and voluntarily leave the courtroom so we can shut the doors behind you, and that'll solve our problem for us. And we'll just tell you, hi, you can't have a camera in there, and we're not going to allow you back in. Because obviously once they've got you out, they don't have to expose their violence by removing you by force. Right? If they can show that, oh, he did it voluntarily and they don't have to use force, then they're not exposed to the violent thugs that they are. Now again, this gentleman, I ain't got nothing against him, man. You know, he's just trying to make it in this world, but I'm not going to excuse that because he's chosen to be a bailiff. And that defends bar members with that little gun on his hip. And I find that intolerable. He could make a living doing something else. He doesn't have to do this. And the second he quits, we'll be buddies. But fine, okay? But yeah, this is their first attempt. They come in with an attempt as if we're so dumb we're going to solve their problem for him. The reason why he's not worried about me is because the only other time I was here, I did exactly what you're seeing there. I just sat there and did nothing. Of course, I was recording it in secret, and I got the whole hearing anyway, and I can upload that anytime I want to and expose what this judge is doing to these teenagers and how exactly she's doing it by manipulations through the legalese I can speak, and I will. But that's why they didn't have any really concern about me. They didn't think I was going to be filming or doing anything like that. So that's why they were only trying to get Bao. So now I'm getting my camera ready because they came in and here's their approach, right? And so you'll see me, I come over here and move right here. But that was their first attempt. If you guys are listening, please don't try something so weak in the future. We're going to be back, obviously, and it's going to take way more than this little tactic to get rid of us. And think of the problems that we caused here with 2 people. What if we show up next time with 20? Because this little video is doing pretty well on the internet, and it's growing like a weed. You don't think we're going to have 20 people in here pretty soon? With your part-time judge who's really a family court lawyer down the street practicing out of a firm or whatever, private practice, whatever she's doing? Like, all right, I digress. I'm going to comment less and let the video play more. Here we go.
You can read it right here.
I can tell you, sir. If you don't want to read it, but you can read it. You can't film in the building at all today.
According to
the federal voting law.
Okay, that's not true. He thinks you can just say federal and now it's official. If you have a federal voting law, come out with a printout of it. We'll look on our cell phones and back it up with the internet. If you're right, we'll leave. If you're not right, we're not going to leave voluntarily. We've been telling them from the jump. And we've given them the recipe of success in order to have us leave voluntarily and end all of this. But of course they can't do it because they're not telling the truth and no such authority exists.
The federal...
You got to be 100 feet away from the...
Federal what law?
Come on.
Look how hard he's breathing. It's hard to get it out. He's nervous, and that's fine. So they last week they said, oh, it's 4205. You can't come in. So we came prepared knowing exactly what 4205 is and everything else around it. Nothing even close. We're not disrupting anything. You have to be disruptive in order to get charged with that 4205. It's a Texas penal code or something like that. And so what they actually did was say, oh, there's some kind of voting going on. So we've made a rule that says you can't have a video camera within 100 feet of a polling station. Now, obviously the intent is to affect the voting. We don't even know voting was going on. We don't care about anything to do with that. We're here for courts. They can't address a rule that says you can't videotape in their courtroom because it doesn't exist outside of a judge's will. These judges make the laws and then interpret them and enforce them with the violence this guy can bring with his coward button walkie-talkie there. They don't just judge the law, they make it, and they don't want that getting out. So they'll try and use any other legislative lines written down to convince the public, oh no, see, these guys are breaking these lines written down by the legislative branch. This is the best shot they've got. Doesn't that tell you a lot? They tried to get us out and protect these judges by saying you can't have a video camera within 100 feet of a polling station. We want nothing to do with voting or polls or any of that, ever. And there's big time walls and hallways in between us and that 100 feet. So I just found it incredibly hilarious and ironic that that's their best piece of evidence that we should have to leave. And so you City of Crowley people who are writing this legislation that I'm going to come talk to in person and in appointment, either do something about it or be exposed as collaborators along with it, co-architects of it. Because the intent of that rule has nothing to do with us being allowed to record audio only for our own hearings, which is really all I want. I really don't need to film video, although it would be nice. Audio only of our own hearings invades no one's privacy except our own, And it still undoes the entire authority of the bar members. Of the bar itself will come crumbling down if you allow us to just record audio only, because we'll put it online, of course. Everyone will compare notes like they've been doing, and these judges and everything that they do will be exposed for the fraud that it is, and they know it. Why do you think they're throwing up so many objections to what we're doing? Anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. So, oh, you won't go? Come check it out. Come look at this poster. It's got a federal law on it. It's vague, vague, vague. Of course, they never get specific. We want a specific answer to a specific question about specific information, and they on purpose, of course, stay vague, 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 vague. It's common tactic you see throughout.
Why don't you read it? Come on.
Come on, read it.
No,
Come on.
thank you.
You can bring it up to him. I'm his lawyer. Go ahead.
But, no, I'm not gonna bring it. Can you take it down for me?
Now, do I say I'm his lawyer because I think, oh, I'm a lawyer? I don't really. Why do I only use that title to gain information and mess with these people. He's not going to believe I'm a lawyer with long hair anyway like that. You know, he's not. But I want to see how they react. And I want him to verbally and mentally step off a little bit and let them know that we're not afraid to meet their little level of authority and verbal legalese talking and any of that. That's all it is. I really don't think or portray myself as a lawyer. Now, what do they try to do, as you'll see in the future? They try to get me to commit, oh, yeah, you're a bar member in the state? Because if you lie like that, they can mess with you with charges of, practicing without a license or trying to, influence people in their legal decisions without a license and things like that. They don't think we're nearly as bright as we are. So I found it funny that he was trying that. So this is where I kind of jump in and be like, yeah, whatever. We can deal with whatever you got on paper.
Yeah, bring it to us.
Are you a lawyer, sir?
I am.
Okay. So you're holding yourself out as a lawyer, sir? Are you bar in State Bar of Texas?
It's only because we're holding an election right now. You can't be.
So now they bring in a woman to do the explaining now that he says, oh, it's safe, they're cool. And so he tries to occupy my time and she tries to occupy his to kind of this divide and conquer type tactic, like we can't see through that.
Take 100 feet within the election machines.
Oh, you've got a piece of paper, therefore you're right, and we're in the wrong, and we're going to believe you, and so now we're going to leave. Okay, because that must apply to us, and logically, we're just in the wrong, so you're right, we're going to leave. Well done, we're convinced, we're very convinced. Oh, it sounds and looks very formal. Ooh, well done.
It's not because you can't videotape in a municipal building, it's just because you can't videotape during an election.
Can we videotape a courtroom in a municipal building if there was no election? Because we tried to do that last Tuesday and you still didn't let us. Truth is consistent. You are not. Therefore, anyone with half a brain knows that you're not standing on anything legitimate. You're just trying to use one tactic after another to see which one will hopefully work. And then none of them are working, obviously.
That's it. Now, what they do in the courtroom, I don't know. But what their rules are, that would be with Officer Haig. But
if you think women who are employed by the government are just, innocent women doing their job, no. They're doing what they're told. They're not asking any questions. They don't care about logic and ethics. They just want the paycheck. They don't challenge any authority whatsoever, and that's why they're hired. And they keep that job for a long, 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 long time. Why can't you get a job where you actually or make something productive for society? Or maybe provide a useful service? Why can't you make a job doing something productive and constructive instead of being on glorified welfare, being paid by monies that are stolen by, again, the coercive threat of violence? You're just, this is the way the world works. I'm never going to do anything different, and I'm never going to change anything different, and this is, I have a good job. Yay. All right. Okay, lady.
because
So I'm trained in these matters. You mind if I take a look at that?
you certainly
Sure. So, I'm a way bigger than her, and I'm trying to, I always have to present some kind of like, I'm totally friendly, I'm no threat, don't worry about it. I gotta always use friendly words and stuff.
So this is according to section 33.051 and multiple others of the Texas Election Code. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm reading it, and it says what she says. It's just, little symbols, like it's written for someone in the 7th grade. You can't, film around election polls, and elections are special, and da-da-da-da-da-da. But up in the corner, it says a code for the authority, because the first thing I look for is the source, right? And of course, that's what it is.
Okay, so have you got any kind of evidence that such a code would apply to us?
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
So, what if I had said that to what they were saying? Hey, you can't film in here. Oh my gosh, are you serious? She's using a mechanism of disgust to invalidate my question just because she doesn't understand it. It's inconceivable to her that anyone could actually challenge that what's written on that paper actually applies to them and must be obeyed. Women, generally speaking, and I'm not all of them, okay? Don't anybody get mad at me, but they love security more than freedom, generally speaking. And that's for evolutionary reasons, not because they're at fault or they're less than men or this, that, and the other, okay? They're more fearful. They're more conforming to authority, okay? This is just natural way of being. And yet we give these women authority over men as a judge and allow them to call upon the violence of the state upon people who just want to be left alone and make an audio recording of hearings in a public place. All this is paid for stolen public monies, right? And yet here they are saying, I don't care if you're a member of the public, get out, for reasons that we say that have nothing to do with a courtroom. We just obey. It's not our fault. Take it up with the next level up.
I have an election machine inside
I'm not joking.
of the inside my election room. Would you like to come in and view it? You're more than
No,
welcome
let's,
to.
because the election machine isn't going to be any kind of evidence that links this code to us. Now, if you've got
What do you mean it
documentation,
doesn't link the code to you? You cannot videotape 100 feet by state of Texas election code.
State of Texas election code. Who and what is that? It's a fiction. You might replace state of Texas election code with the words Zarzar Humferunk. Zarzar Humferunk. I just made it right up out of my head. So unless you believe Zarzar Humferunk, then you're going to be in trouble. Because the reason why you have to go out is because of what Zarzar Humferunk says. Do you get what I'm saying? Make the disconnect between these so familiar words, the code of the state of Texas, and realize that it's just made up words. Just salesmanship type manipulations to convince people to buy it so that they'll just leave voluntarily, right? It's bananas.
Laws. You cannot videotape 100 feet.
Election judge.
you're acting as if we're attempting to videotape voters and influence their vote.
Sir, you're not.
So now they go, he's not buying this one. So here come the next attempt, right? So now we got 3 people. Now, it really is not in line with civil discourse and mutual respect to have this person speaking to me, have this person be rude enough to come over and completely interrupt the conversation, and then presume she's really too close to me, by the way, and standing while I remain sitting just to keep everything de-escalated. Because if I stood up, they'd all see that as, oh shit, what's he gonna do? Sorry, language. And so I have to always be more passive and sitting, and everybody's calm, everybody's cool, right? So now she comes over and wants to talk to me, and I point this out, and then he speaks up. So you don't have to tolerate, I could have pointed this out a little better. I was like, look, I'm only going to talk to one person at a time, and then I don't want to talk to them anymore. Okay, this isn't going to be all, let's team up against one person. All right, if I did that to you, you wouldn't appreciate it. It's not very kind or respectful. I'm being very respectful to you. Let's move on.
You're not allowed to have videotape sitting where you're the voting.
I'm just going to be
Oh, well, thanks, because you just told her what she said, and I didn't believe her, so what makes you think I'm going to believe you? Like, you guys need to up your game. We're not going to fall for the same tactics over and over and over and over again. We're just not. I mean, I hope this taught you that, so that we don't have to deal with this, waste this time in the future.
able to address one person at a time. So is it going to be you or you?
Okay, this is the election.
See, now that I don't believe her too, now I don't believe her, and so he, as the gun, feels, oh, I'm going to step in now. Now I'm going to do some convincing. Let's see if he believes me. He's about to find out real quick, yeah, that's not going to work either.
Oh, now it's in third. Okay, so this is obviously trying to go against people who are trying to influence voting machines, election processes, and sway the votes of voters. We're not doing any of that. We're here for court. So you can.
Videotape. I'm sorry, but you cannot.
Okay, well, you.
She just repeats herself. You're being circular, lady. I didn't buy it the first time. I'm not going to buy it the 10th time. You might as well not even talk. You're wasting everyone's time. Either bring something new to the table, and it would help if it was something I asked for, or don't even bother. I just hope they learn this is a waste of time. And I don't like to embarrass people over this. I know they're put in a hard spot and they didn't ask for this, but when push comes to shove and these people really start to realize that they don't have to pay these extortion rackets, more is coming, and either get out of it and find other work or have to deal with incidences like this in the future, ongoing, right?
Understand, I'm not going to stop because of your opinion, just like I wouldn't expect you to do something based on my opinion.
See, now he identifies me in that moment as a no person. He hears me say something as absurd as the golden rule. Don't try to impose upon me because of your opinion. That's just as silly as if I said an opinion and tried to impose upon you. I throw out basically the golden rule, and he says that's a no person, turns over to the coward button, and calls for help.
Right?
And there's
You're a coward, sir, because for a fact you wouldn't dare take me on one-on-one without any weapons, obviously. You're not willing to handle this without the help of other men. So if you're not willing to back up what you say, why are you saying it? Oh, we have procedures, see, and we only work with overwhelming force, and if we would try to arrest one person, we need at least 2 officers. So 2 officers for every 1 person being arrested at a minimum. And I'm just following procedure. Procedure is to be a coward. Either step up and enforce your will, or shut up and go away. But I could do the same thing too, see, because right now you're getting more cops. What if I get more drones? Did you ever think about that? Like, how easy would it be? Now, I'm not ever going to do anything like that, but other people are. And before it happens, it'd really be nice if we could have a conversation. And that involves allowing people to speak without threatening them with violence. And this bailiff, that's a coward button, man. You need to find another job, because you're not fit for this one. If it wasn't for your badge and your gun, no one would listen to you, because, no offense, you're an old, out-of-shape man, and you can't physically enforce anything without getting gassed. You got gassed just by talking and being nervous around us. Either hire better security that costs more money, by the way, or stop with this nonviolent victimless charge nonsense extortion racket you got going on. It's that simple.
Now, if you bother not cut me off, if you hear me out, are you trying to get a man to threaten you with violence? Is that what you're doing?
See, she just made a hint to him about, go get so and so.
What's your name?
Carol. I'm city secretary.
That's okay. City secretary.
See, by offering her hand, she's trying to play, oh, I'm the friendly one. I can out-friendly you. But, yeah, the reason why I'm asking for your name is because I can put your first and last name online, and forever you'll be searchable to your family, to your kids, and they're going to find out what it is you actually help enforce when you go to work and come home with this nice family-supporting paycheck. That's all. I'm not trying to ruin you. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to make life harder from you. I'm trying to hold you accountable for your actions to those that you claim to care about.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Who's your manager or supervisor?
The city manager.
Okay, and you are calling upon a man with a badge and a gun to threaten me with violence, to remove me from the
I
room?
don't believe I threatened you with violence at all.
He's got a gun and a taser and mace and all kinds of stuff, and you're saying that's not violent?
See, she's trying to make the logical fallacy of separating her directing the bailiff to go take action that will increase the security that will lead to me being removed by force. She's separating that action from her physical body. Well, I'm not physically doing it, therefore it's not being done. If you tell a dog to bite somebody and they bite them, are you not responsible because actually you didn't do the biting? These people don't even care about logic, let alone are capable of practicing it. That's absurd, lady. You are directly responsible for that threat of violence. Women initiate these threats of violence that go on in this courtroom today.
This is a public space, and I want
believe
to.
that's violence at all.
I don't want to interrupt anybody. I want to have civil discourse and not argue.
See, I just have to interrupt and, remind them we're not going to devolve into an argument thing. Either we're going to have civil discourse and one at a time, one issue on the table at a time, or I'm going to call it out how this is devolving into a childish high school level conversation that's not worth my time, right?
Okay, let's be peaceful and not argue. Let's not do that.
I'm
All
not.
I'm saying
As
is
someone who's gonna have to stand up, I don't want to be filmed while I am.
then we won't film you.
So this young woman in the back, this is all she's seen so far, and she's concerned about her privacy, and that's fine. We're going to black her out. If she doesn't want to be filmed, that's fine.
you.
I am having my.
We won't film you.
Okay,
We'll be
I
happy
mean-
to point it at the ground and do audio only. This isn't about embarrassing anyone
You don't
or
need to have it
violating
in here.
anyone's
I
privacy.
don't-
Okay, just so you know.
I don't want that though.
We're not going to use it or post it. We're not here for you or any of that. We're here for them. I promise we're for you. If you want your privacy respected, you can trust all the authorities. Okay.
You're not allowed to have that in.
Okay, but until you give me something written down that has legitimate authority on it, I'm not going to read your opinion in all due respect.
Now keep in mind, that young woman in the back, I could totally understand. You know, she's got to be here probably to pay this fine. This is embarrassing. She got some ticket. She doesn't want it out there on the internet. Totally get it. Don't want to cause her any kind of embarrassment like that. But I want to make note of what she said, because a little bit later here from now, she sings quite a different tune. And I want the people who are watching this of our opposition to note how convincing what we've done was to her. How on board she and others are that you're going to hear in this recording came to be to what we're doing. Because what you witness in these random strangers that were convinced enough by us to be on our side, it's indicative of a much wider impulse in society. They believe us. We win in the court of public opinion. We're better at this than you are. And because you have the burden of proof, because of all these claims that you have, it's easy to expose you, basically. Just make note. You're going to hear it in a little bit, how on our side they get.
All due respect.
It's okay, Miss Teresa. The police are going to. Thank you.
So they make sure, it's okay, the police are on their way as they leave. They intentionally, by training, drop that hint in a psychological attempt to leave you with that question mark of the fear. Oh, it's okay, we're going to leave because the police are coming. The ladies are going to leave because the police are coming. Like, oh, jeez. There's nothing written in your training manuals that I don't see coming from a million miles away. All right? You might as well take your training manuals and burn them. Throw them in the garbage because they're no good against people like me. It's just, we're not going to be convinced by your words and opinions. Either produce the factual evidence or go away. And you can't produce the factual evidence. So we're at kind of a Mexican standoff here for a while, aren't we? I mean, obviously there's nothing to be worried or nervous about.
If everyone else had this kind of courage, you wouldn't have to pay these kind of nonsense fines for non-violent victimless criminal charges. This is silly. You don't owe them anything.
Now, when I heard me say this on the replay, I kind of cringed a little bit. It's like, if everybody else had this kind of courage, I'm not saying I have any kind of extraordinary courage, because this is just how I am by default. I can't stay away from this stuff. I'm not going to pay bullies lunch money during the recess. I'm not. I don't think that's anything special. Anybody who's been in a battle zone has done things way more brave than I am doing here. It's just another way to call out the cowardice of the sheep behind me. I can't say, you guys are a bunch of cowards, and if you weren't, we wouldn't have to pay any of this. And so I have to say, look, if y'all had this kind of courage, then we wouldn't have to pay this. I'm not trying to point at me. I'm trying to point at them because, I blame the ignorant, selfish, deluded, head in the sand, sheep-like public every bit as much as I blame bailiffs and lawyers and judges. The civilization has the government that it more or less deserves, right? I mean, that's a famous saying from somebody I can't remember, but I believe it's true. And so it's just kind of me calling them out there. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, trust me. Ugh.
Am I wrong? How many of you have actually hurt somebody and that's why you're here? Am I wrong? You think this is easy? You think I like doing this? This is embarrassing. I have to because they're getting away with this type of thing. And I'm not going to violate anybody's privacy, I promise you. So
We sure gotta follow the laws of the land, man.
you don't.
We do.
Well, if you believe you do, then you're correct. I won't go against that. You believe you do, and so you will. Just because you've done that your whole life doesn't mean you have to do it tomorrow. How do you think I came to do this? Because I get away with not having to obey
read the
the law.
Bible.
I'm sorry?
Apparently you don't read the Bible.
I rely on factual evidence.
Even that young woman over here was like, oh God, he did not just say that. This gentleman, poor guy as he is, all due respect, believes that obedience to the law of the land and judges is synonymous with obedience to God, how much more brainwashed do you have to be? You ever heard of the separation of church and state, buddy? If your Bible-thumping ways tell you to obey cops and judges, they are one and the same. All right? These people know the nature of human nature so well that they know they have to address the quote-unquote unknown spiritual component of humanity. But they can't do it with government because all these different cultures from all over the world interpret this and fulfill this need for spirituality in different ways, in ways that they'll go to war over. If they could have one government, one church, oh, they would. You've seen that happen to so many countries in the history. But they can't. And so they make, yeah, have your religion, have your freedom of religion, but we're going to structure them all in the same kind of hierarchy and type of authority in the invisible and the imaginary to be synonymous with the hierarchy of the state, of government. So that they model and reflect each other exactly so that it'll be so much easier for, if you obey one, you'll want to obey the other. And this poor sap is a prime example of a victim that has fallen for it. And it's just so twistedly odd to just see that in the flesh and hear him say that. The man is chained to the wall in complete slavery, and he does not recognize it in the least. It's powerful, it's tragic, it leaves you speechless, let's say.
To draw my conclusions from.
That's ridiculous.
See, their statutes and codes are their Bible. This isn't a state, it's a religion. They have their holy books, they have their...
Hey guys, the police are on their way. If you guys want to call up the Crowley City Hall, they are threatening us.
Why?
So Bao does this often enough to where if he says, hey, they're threatening us with cops, light up the phone switches, his followers will. There were over 200 people watching this live. And I have been participating in his other streams. And when he says call them up, like I called him up yesterday, had a great conversation with somebody there. And I recorded that as well, of course. I could upload that. But we lock up their phone lines. I mean, people call and they go, oh yeah, I'm trying to call, it's busy, or they won't answer, or they just get hold music all the time, or they put you on hold right away and never get back to you. Because we're locking up their phone lines. So that's just what Bao was saying to do there.
Because they've had success. How? Because they're wrong. Just because you believe something your whole life doesn't mean it's that way. That's all it is.
Yeah, they made it out to be some kind of voting machine thing. We were at Crowley City Hall.
Election. We're here doing nothing destructive. We're here to sit in peace and quiet and not say a thing. But they come over to us, keep harassing us. I can't even speak to them without them interrupting me. You know why? Because they know I'm right. I have to...
Sir, y'all do what you want to do.
I was actually just going to offer, now that he was by himself, to have a normal conversation without the interrupting, without any of that, so that I'm trying to lessen his fear, okay? The more afraid a security person is who doesn't have the training or physical capability to inflict his will, the more dangerous he can be. And especially with a coward button like that, the kind of messages he'll send to those people, more people with guns coming, oh, he's being disruptive, oh, he's being angry, oh, I don't need him saying anything like that. So I'm trying to, I can be an intimidating guy, so I'm trying to chill him out and get him to... Sorry, I had a little glitch in the matrix. Let's continue.
I'm just saying,
if you're a violation of law, when the officers get here, then they'll handle it, whatever they need to do, okay? I've tried to be very nice, even showed you the law, and you want to argue.
I don't want to argue.
He's not making any sense. He's staying super vague. He uses the word law, but that's a vague word, doesn't point to anything specific. And then he says, when I have a response that isn't obedience, then I'm arguing. Like they want you to be angry. They want you to argue because they know how to deal with anger. They want you to make mistakes. They want you to look bad on that camera. And that's why I don't argue. I don't need to argue, because in order to argue, you have to make an assertion. Okay? Then you take on the burden of proof by doing that. I don't do that. It's part of the Socratic method of investigation. You people are so corrupt, all I have to do is clarify your own claims. And when I try to clarify what you're saying by saying, you're asking me if I understand you and will respect it, but I can't understand it because you're intentionally leaving it vague. A thing that is left vague is impossible to understand. Therefore, in my attempt to understand you, let me clarify what it is you're saying and doing. Then we can understand and move forward. But obviously they can't allow that. They can't clarify anything because they need to stay vague to hide exactly what it is they're doing and maintain the illusion for the sheep behind me.
I'm done arguing with you.
I don't want to argue either.
Also, by the way, in a court of law, did I ask you for your bar license?
I never claimed I was a bar member.
He got a little tip from somebody in here. Oh, he said he was a lawyer. Oh, yeah, we'll ask him for his bar membership because I bet he's full of crap. Now he comes out here and says, oh, yeah, you said you were a bar member when I never said that. This is a tactic they do to point to an earlier conversation during heated moments like this and say, remember earlier you said that? Well, and they just go off, assuming you won't address it. But I didn't say that. I'm always very careful not to say that because, A, I don't want to be a bar member. I'm not going to let someone accuse me of being a bar member unchallenged. Do you know what kind of a slave and someone who signs up to be coerced and corrupt and work for a horrible system of quote-unquote justice, the type of person you have to be to sign a bar membership and to keep that?
Why would I ever sign something as disgusting as agreement to a bar membership?
I have no idea what I discussed.
The only reason why they do that is so they can allow themselves to be coerced in order to keep their job, pay out their student loans. Why would I ever sign?
Yeah, guys, they have called the local police on us for no reason. We're at Crowley City Hall.
Well, you do know.
Crowley City Hall, Crowley, Texas.
See,
All cell phones turned off, all electronic
okay,
devices
but
off.
do you think I'm just gonna buy that because you printed it out on a piece of paper and put it on a little wooden platform?
What you can't see is it's behind here. It's, no kidding, an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of pink paper that has in like capital letters in bold type about no cell phone, electronic, They laminated it, put it in a little plastic stand, and then set it up on this desk near the judge. And he points to that as if that's an authority I should respect. Oh, because it's printed up in something that any, sixth grader can do. Therefore, it must hold legal and lawful authority and all your other special buzzwords you try to use to be special and necessary when obviously you're not. As if we're going to believe that? Stop trying to get us to believe your vague nonsense and just come up with the actual factual evidence you have upon which you rely to base your conclusions and your claims. Oh, wait, you can't do that ever? That's a problem, isn't it?
That's your opinion.
Well,
if you're so right,
I was hoping that you would go by the rules of the court because the judge said so.
Oh, a judge. Oh, a judge in black pajamas. Oh, a judge.
That's her rules.
She's a
and her
lawyer.
court.
You realize that she's a part-time lawyer. That's not even a legitimate judge. This isn't even a real courtroom.
Darla Peevey is a lawyer that practices law in Crowley that they hire in every Tuesday to come here and coerce you guys to pay money.
Bao throughout this whole video comes in with the perfect supportive comments to what I'm saying. Like, his timing couldn't be better, his input couldn't be better, and I loved it when he would start engaging himself and then let me play second fiddle. Like, I can't tell you how good it felt, props to Bao, to not only have him live streaming and protecting me in this way, but to be verbally on point and supportive. I just can't tell you the feeling that I have of how awesome that is, because I didn't have anything even close to that in Hawaii the whole time I was there. It was me doing only me having to worry about the whole show and not doing a lot because it was just me. Man, I come here to the mainland, just one other person. Look at the difference we make. So anyway, props to Bao.
Oh, because she has training?
She is actually licensed and trained by the state of Texas.
Is she bonded?
She goes to training and is licensed by them to be a municipal judge. Okay.
Is she bonded?
I expect you to just believe my...
I wish I would have asked him that. I should have diverted him over to Bao. Is she bonded? Oh yeah, no? That's a problem.
opinions and then act according to my opinions, yes or no?
Opinions, no, but law, I do. If you come in here with law,
Okay.
and I'll say, yes, sir, that's great, you're right, you got the law.
So you're...
I have to go by the law, and so should you, but I mean, that's your choice. I can't make you go by the law, can I?
Obviously you can. You see that gun on your hip? The law is nothing but a judge's opinion, and you most certainly can. You see that coward button you put there in the middle of your chest as a reminder to everybody of the help that you can call available? You put that front and center so that people don't mess with you physically, because you know you'd be wrecked. You'd be wrecked, right? People who come in here and do it for free against you making your $16 an hour, whatever they pay you. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you or anything. I'm just saying, like, You're standing on the word law and you don't even know what it is. They don't write down any laws. Watch the other videos I make. You'll see exactly what a law is and what it isn't. And you're just talking vague umbrella words. Again, not being specific at all. Just like every state employee. Well done.
I would like to be able to finish a sentence. Would that be okay?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So I'm more than happy to do what you want me to do if you can show it on paper. Now, when you say, you just said the law to me multiple times, right? So I look into what does that word mean, right? There are no rules written anywhere by any legislative body, top to bottom in this country, that call itself a law. There's no U.S. law 46.1 subparagraph B, section 2. Doesn't exist. You know what does exist? Statutes and codes. The word law is just some really vague, big umbrella word that all of these other things fall under, so they can say, you gotta obey the rules, otherwise we'll get the people with guns involved.
Oh, okay, but basically, we're splitting hairs on.
We're not splitting hairs, and it's not some, I'm
Says-
looking at the evidence on paper, sir.
Okay, sir.
And you're smiling and walking away from me.
Because I just defeated everything he ever used about the word law. I'm just looking at factual evidence, manifest reality, what is written down and what is not, by their own definitions and what they call it. The word law is a word of indoctrination from when you're a kid to tell you, you must obey our rules, otherwise you'll be put on the endlessly escalating coercive threat of violence staircase, right? To where you will obey at a certain point, or we'll take everything from you. I don't care how small the infraction. You disobey long enough, we'll take everything from you, even your life. If you don't show up, a bench warrant will be issued, giving a man like this authorization to use comply or die force. And if you resist with enough force in the self-defense direction, they will kill you. You have a right to life, liberty, and property. Yeah, right. And that will be protected because you're going to be given due process first? Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Why is that?
Because I'm done. I tried to be nice to you, I tried to explain to you, so whatever happens today happens, okay?
You're okay, so why are you disengaging? You said you wanted to talk, but as soon as I start spitting truth, you know you can't stand it, and then you walk away?
He doesn't have a response to any of that. If I don't obey him, then I'm being mean when he's trying to be nice to me. Okay, that's one way to act, I guess, if you're 4 years old.
It's a statute and a code, and it doesn't apply to anybody.
He walks away and go gets shelter with this. I think there's a lawyer back here. It's some dude, clean-cut dude, sitting at a desk, kind of lurking in on all this and not coming out or anything. He's just sitting back there, but I think he might be a lawyer or something, advising these people. But the bailiff just retreats. Oh, it didn't work on him. What should I try next? Oh, wait, what's a good counter? Is he right when he says that thing about a law? What's a good counter to that? I mean, come on.
Oh, don't mess with them. They don't get that it's a might makes right world. They care about ethics.
Yeah, you guys, we're at Crowley City Hall, guys, so,
Get out, and that this applies to me because of reason X, I will leave right now. If you're right, then you should have that.
We just showed it to you.
You showed me a piece of paper with a code, and then I asked her, okay, but I'm not going to believe a code unless you have evidence that, you know what they do? In military courts, they provide the evidence. In international courts, they provide the evidence because they care about jurisdiction. But this one doesn't. Why is that?
it's called a UCMJ.
It's a real thing. They deal with it. If it's so silly, why does the military deal with it?
I'm prior service, I know what a UCMJ is.
So am I. We're not doing this because it's fun or to be troublemakers or for the attention. We're certainly not doing it for money, you know?
We're doing it for transparency. If you guys don't have anything to hide, you guys shouldn't be scared of cameras, period.
Totally on point, Bao. Couldn't be more bullseye.
People have a right to their privacy.
I'm not recording you, ma'am.
No one's recording you.
She sticks up for the state. That woman is, pushing 70. Just sees this as a big delay, a waste of time, and shameful behavior. She would never even capable of offering this level of resistance using logic and ethics in her entire life. This is just a totally new thing for her, and she just dismisses it as just nonsense.
You're in public space.
Do y'all have like an online project or something? I'm genuinely curious.
Do you all have like an online project or something? I'm genuinely curious. This coming from the same young woman who was just concerned that we were wasting her time and making it hard for her to go back to work earlier. I want you to hear all that, Mr. Daddy Government. Just a few minutes of speaking, and they're turned all around. They are all kinds of curious about what's coming out of our face. And you know it. And you know it. So listen to the inevitability of your end in that young woman's comments. And here comes some more, by the way.
Yeah, there's a YouTube
Like,
channel.
why Crowley of all places?
I could see why she would say that, because it's such a tiny, like, suburb, and she's like, well, I've never heard any of this before. How in the heck did I run up on this? Just, you know, she got a really crazy roll of the dice walking in on this today.
Well, we just happen to be
Because
close.
screw it.
No.
This is not an attack on Crowley.
And they tried to use a law that said, oh yeah, it's Texas Penal Code 4205. We looked it up, it doesn't have anything to do with any of this.
He doesn't even know what
Shouting.
4205 says.
Yeah, he didn't even know, he's just like, yeah, 4205. And if you just sit here in peace, we should be able to just make a recording of our own hearing. If they're not doing anything wrong, why would
So
they
you guys are
mind?
here for a case as well?
No, I'm here.
She can't figure it out. Like, I still don't get it. How is it they're rolling up on here? You guys here to help somebody? You got a case or something?
To defend others, I don't have any reason to be here, other than that. Yeah, right, because I'm a big virtue sibling, right? Risking prison over this, right? That's fun, that makes sense.
The same older lady was just, you know, I said that I don't have any reason to be here and just defending other people. Oh, give me a break. So maybe she had a point there. I don't know. You know, I could have chose better words there to not elicit that response from her. But I'm just trying to make a point that there are people in the world who will cause this kind of trouble, even though they're not feeling the pain personally. Holy shock. Because generally, people don't do anything unless they feel the pain. Then they're motivated to act. But uh-oh, daddy government, watch out. Some people are out there not doing it for the money, not even wanting the attention. Okay, and I've proven that. Trying to keep my channel as small as possible over the last 3 years, for crying out loud. And still coming out here just to expose this so that, oh, I don't know, your friends and family don't have to deal with it, so that your kid might live in a better world? Oh, heaven forbid. Anyway.
Yeah, it's the sheeple guys. That's part of the
The
problem.
younger generation and the older generation. The younger generation knows their whole life is ahead of them. They're open to new ideas, but the older one thinks, oh, I've been doing this my whole life, and if I shouldn't have had to do it my whole life, then it makes me a fool, so I'm not going to believe it. I'm just going to do whatever I've been doing. And inflict that on everyone else, too. Nobody here has hurt anyone else. Has anyone committed any violence, and that's why you're here? Anyone facing any charges where they hurt somebody? No. Crazy me, I think you shouldn't have to pay these people money. You shouldn't even have to be here. But you curfews here? Give me a break. Oh, you're just driving without our permission slip called license? Give me a break. You can't drive from point A to point B as an adult or a teen.
It's done. What they're doing is done. Makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, you can't get through to them, man. Don't even try.
No, not even. But y'all trying. That's what
They're in here prosecuting 14-year-olds,
I feel you. 100%.
and they're terrified of cameras.
What's your name? Both of you?
See, now she wants our name. That's investigation, more inquiry, daddy government.
You don't mind me asking?
You can look me up on YouTube. The channel's called Ethics Instead. Is there any way we should
Instead?
Instead. Like, we should use ethics instead, yeah.
Not that fast. That's
Interesting.
She said interesting. That's lady talk for I would like more interaction. I'd like to learn more. I'd like to hear more. This is convincing to me. And I'm not saying that she's personally interested in me. You know, she laughs here a little bit, whatever, and tries to make it like more socially comfortable for everyone. She's interested in the words that are coming out of my mouth. All right? And trust me, daddy government, that effect is very common. Very common. And it's just a matter of getting a big enough microphone. And now that I'm on the mainland and not isolated on a Hawaiian island in the middle of nowhere, guess what's coming? Guess what's coming? More fun and laughs, more fun and laughs, that's all.
I can understand where you're coming from. I'm just a little like trying to get to work and stuff.
We're not holding up the hearing.
So her laugh makes me know that she's not super serious about trying to get to work on stuff. It's just that she mentioned that initially because of that reason. She wanted me to know that what she said earlier, she wasn't super serious about it, and that she didn't mean to like offend me by it. She just got done saying, I know where I can understand where you're coming from. She's saying, I relate to what you're saying, and I agree with it. I'm just pointing that out for daddy government.
We're not the one holding up any hearing. We're not holding anything up for you.
No, I mean, it's a conflict for sure.
The only reason...
See, that laughter is to decrease the tension and to let everyone know she's okay with it. It's not because she's, being serious about being inconvenienced or anything. She's trying to engender positive reactions from those around her. That's what their verbal language is telling me. That's all I'm saying. That's my opinion. She went from annoyed to interested and laughing and trying to be friends within, 10 minutes?
You're uncomfortable is because he's armed with a gun.
Yeah, Bal pointing out the gun in the room. It's all, it's an uncomfortable truth that this is backed up by force called violence because it's violations.
They really should allow us to audio record our own hearings, and they won't because they know that they're taking advantage of everybody and abusing their power left, right, and center. Because the law is nothing but a judge's opinion. You think it's what people write down, but it's not. It's however the judge wants to act.
Yeah, I'm not just... This is a really weird situation for me because here I am in a room with maybe a dozen other people sitting in the stands, maybe a little more, but there's over 200 listening online. And so I'm not just quite saying this for the people in the room. But it's hard not to appear like you're grandstanding or virtue signaling in some kind of way. A lot of the 200 people that are watching this online don't know about what I'm talking about. They still in part believe in this religion, symbolized by this flag, and the holy books called the Constitution and Statutes and Codes. They still kind of rely upon that to save them, as if they have rights that will be respected. And so I'm kind of dropping a little bit of my logic / ethics / opinions on them as well. It's a weird time and it's a weird situation, but that's just how best I can summarize it for whatever that's worth.
Haig, have you figured out what 4205 says yet?
Yes, sir.
Can you even repeat it?
I've got a copy of it in my back pocket.
Bailiff's just going back and forth, filing useless papers, trying to pretend like he's necessary.
Why didn't you mention that today, Haig?
Pal. We're waiting.
I don't know how many times I've done this, maybe dozens, and every single time I start talking to them and they realize, oh, I can't win this verbally and this guy can out lawyer speak me, they walk away. Every single time. Judges do, a lot bigger courtrooms than this.
Actual judges, not lawyers that they hire in to come in on Tuesdays. Darla Peevey works right up the street, guys. She practiced family law.
Just waiting for the police to arrive. Just chilling. There's nothing to be nervous or afraid of, obviously.
So their tactic was to pretend like we were here to interfere with an election.
Oh, yeah. They try something new every time.
You can't mess with the court because we've got an election beef so close.
Oh, they tried. They even tried to corral you.
That's their best attempt.
I was just incredulous.
This makes no logic whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this lady's not even bonded.
I can't believe they just try to sell that. I was shocked that they tried to sell
If they were
something so
right,
blatantly,
they would just
obviously
show it
silly.
on paper, where it's written down. They can't do it.
That's an EAA with me.
They've got scary words and scary weapons, and that's it. And if you call their bluff, they run it. If there were real bad guys in here, people, men and women who have done harm to other people, I wouldn't be here. But not for this non-violent, victimless criminal charge and nonsense.
Just just tossing out bits and pieces here and there for whatever audience or viewers there are. I'm really just kind of bored and just waiting for the cops to get here. It's really all that's going on. Here, there you go. So here come the police. All right.
What's going on, Val?
What's up? What do you got going on?
Cool.
Another day,
My
you know
camera
how it
ready.
goes. Things treating you all right?
It'll be a lot better if I was left alone.
Fair enough. Well,
This cop looks like Frank Mir in the off season. If any of you are UFC fans, this guy looks a lot like Frank Mir. It's pretty funny.
I'll tell you what, you asked for it in writing, and here it is. It says in the election code that you cannot record audio or visually within 100 feet of a polling place, and since they're polling across the hall, you're well within 100 feet of it.
This is an actual policeman come over from the police station with a gun and a badge, showing up with a code about election booths or polling stations, and that's why we can't film anywhere near 100 feet. Like, it's on the other side of a hallway. We have no interest in that. And he's trying, this is their best number one evidence as to why you have to leave, because, oh, it's so close to the polling station. I know I've said it before. This is the last time I'm going to say it. I can't believe it. This surprised me. I thought they would have come up with something even better than this. This is just silly. Eventually they have to rely on the judge, of course, as you'll see here in the future. Like, oh, contempt of court threat. I'm going to throw you in prison right now unless you get out.
I'll give you a copy of it. This copy is for you. You don't want it?
No, thank you. The only thing I'm interested in
Okay. Well, at this point in time, I'm going to ask you nicely to leave. If you refuse to do so, we will be forced to take action.
All right, so I'm going to end this and put this down as part one, because obviously this is going to be a long commentary. And this cop talks to us for quite a bit inside and then quite a bit outside. So I'm going to have at least 3 parts to this. So I'm just going to start rendering this right now and do part 2 later. Hope you enjoyed. I know it's a bunch of ramble. I'll try to edit it. We'll see what's up. Be safe out there.